Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League Ventures podcast. Round 12 review show coming at you right now. Very keen to get this one underway. Obviously, an Origin-affected round. Plenty of eyes already onto Origin, but there was a few games to dissect, to talk about. Some big results, a lot of upsets. Firstly, in a tipping comp out there, if you got probably over two, I'll take my hat off to you. You do get rugby league. Actually, I probably should say if you got less than if you got 1 or 0, you probably get rugby league more because if you predicted some of the upsets, you're obviously down the bottom. You understood that you needed to take some risks to get back up. You did that, so credit to you. Tough week tipping wise. So, but it makes it all fun. We spoke quickly off air, Jake, but it's been one of those years so far. It hasn't stopped either. I keep thinking, okay, we're going to get to the week where it balances out and this just stops. And I've just kept tipping, sort of thinking that way, and just hasn't. So got to start changing my tipping approach, I think, because I started well and it's quickly faded out. But hey, we're here, and I think you went okay, actually.
Well, I got 2 out of 5, so it wasn't incredible, but I take a little bit of offense. I do take a little bit of offense to the fact that if you got 1 or 0, you know what you're talking about. That's an absolute rubbish. That's a little pot shot from you because you know exactly what I got. All right, that's a little pot shot from you. And I'll say this: I had faith in my team to get the win on the weekend. I don't always tip Para. I very rarely tip Para this year. I had faith in them on the weekend because I knew that the halfback of Manly was Jacob Arthur, so sucked into you, not Jacob, you. And I had faith in the Raiders, so you know they've been doing really well this year. And so you know what? And who was going to tip the Dolphins over the Dogs? Like, come on. If you tip Dolphins over the Dogs, you don't know rugby league. That's where that's at. Like, that's just where that's at. I don't care. I don't care how many people they had out. They're coming first, and they're doing well. I don't care.
Well, it's a perfect segue because that's the first game we are going to be talking about. So, obviously, Thursday night, 44 points to 8. Do not adjust your dials, headsets, anything like that. That was the score. Don't go and double check it. The Bulldogs were almost on the list. I tell you what, that would have been a story and a half if that was the post I put up Thursday night. The Dogs making the list and being current top dog of the competition. That would have been huge. In a way, I wanted it to happen because I think that storyline would have been ridiculous, but it didn't happen. Firstly, horrible conditions, and just shout out to everyone out there who has been currently affected by the flooding. Hope you are staying safe, being okay. Hopefully not too much damage to your house, to your loved ones, things like that. And we can all knuckle down, get us through all this together. And hopefully this little show, if you are listening to a podcast trying to get away from everything, can give you a little bit of joy for the next short time that we are on. So hopefully we help you out that way. But shout out to everyone out there. We are thinking about you. It felt like just a few months ago we're having the same sort of in the Queensland side of things. So not a great time at the moment. It seems to be some weird crap happening with Mother Nature, which isn't ideal. But back to the footy again. Horrible conditions. Credit to the Accor Stadium field, firstly, because that held up amazingly, considering if that I was thinking if this was at Allianz Stadium throughout the match, it probably would have been called off because it would have ended up being just a pit of mud. It would have been horrendous. It would have been like a swamp. It would have been horrendous to play. But hey, it wasn't, and credit to Accor. Let's go to the Dolphin side of things first, Joe. Let's talk about the positive stuff here. And this is the fact that, once again, it's a little halfback. It's their gem at the moment. They're jewel in the crown. When people say they didn't end up signing any major key marquee players, I always just keep coming back and saying, yeah, but they've got the guy that's come through the ranks who probably is going to be the marquee guy in years to come in Isaiah Katoa, who is killing it. The kicking game in those conditions were just a standout. That was so far above, in my opinion, and it was a credit to him.
Oh, absolutely. Look, he played to the conditions perfectly, I think. Like he used the rain and the fact that it was raining. He kicked to the conditions. He made the Bulldogs sort of either make mistakes or he trapped them in their own end. And he really forced them to be uncomfortable all game, is the way I'd sort of put it. Like he didn't let the Bulldogs ever get comfortable and get their rhythm into the game, which is a credit to him because, like, you can't be going in obviously against a team, even with the amount of outs that they had, and I'm sure that's something we'll get to because they did have a lot of people out the Bulldogs. Even with the amount of outs they had, they're still top of the comp. There's no way that the Dolphins were coming into this game going, like, oh, they have a few outs, this is going to be easy. They're top of the comp. It doesn't matter. You're going into that 100%. And then he's stood up to the expectations of his team and of his fan base, and I think he's done a really great job.
Yeah. Herbie Farnworth spent majority of the week in hospital, by reports, was in there the morning of the game. And to be honest, look, he probably wasn't the big Farnworth factor that we've seen in the past, but still he managed to save himself for the right time of the game, stood up when they needed him the most, had a couple of really key moments. His stats were still really decent. He did get through a chunk of work, up to, I think it was 15 runs in the end, 120 odd meters, I'm pretty sure. So he got through a bit of work, and just put in an effort for someone who was basically in hospital for the majority of the week. Huge.
Yeah, I don't know what he was in hospital for, but it's like basically felt like he got up out of bed. Sorry?
Infections. I think he had a boil.
Oh,
He had a Susan
yeah,
boil.
feels like he basically got up out of bed. And, oh, yeah, it should be right. I'll just go play. Yeah, no, I'll be right. I'll go play footy. And he's come out. He's scored a try. He's run over 100 meters. He ran the most out of his entire backline other than Jack Bostock, and that was only by a difference of 4 meters. So it isn't as if he shirked his duties at all. He wouldn't have. I don't think he's the type of player to come and play if he wasn't like 100%. I think he'd know he wouldn't want to let his team down, so he'd know if he could have played or not. So still very impressive to come from the hospital basically and straight into the side to do that.
Yeah, no, I really agree. I want to give a shout out to a forward as well, for the Dolphins, Francis Molo, who I thought had a really great game and probably established himself there at the Dolphins from this performance, because obviously he's that mid-year signing from the Dragons. Obviously had that big fallout with the club that was very well publicized. We don't need to go into that again. But I was open when that all was happening, thinking, who is he to demand what he's demanding and things like that? Didn't really have the biggest raps on Francis Molo. And I got to say, like, that really impressed me, this performance. And they've got a couple out at the moment. That's the other big thing. That probably would be normally a bench forward coming on if they were full strength. They're not, and he had to step up. And I think he did that. Granted, the Dogs pack isn't the biggest in the comp that they'll verse. I understand that. But at the same time, the Dolphins did have a few out, and I thought Francis really stood up.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. And this is one of those ones where
had some mongrel as well.
Yeah, sorry?
Had some mongrel about him as well, which is what I liked. He wanted to go.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, he had a lot of pent-up frustration from the fact that the Dragons didn't let him go, but they had him locked up for six weeks. But yeah, no, he's come out. He's come out firing, and in 42 minutes, which I think is the most impressive thing, in 42 minutes, he ran 15 times for 146 meters. So that's just massive meters there. If you're just talking about meter eaterage, my favorite terminology, meter eaterage, it's just huge. Busted. He scored a try. There's not much more you can ask from a forward, to be fair. Like, he's just come out and he's just done his job. He's done it well.
Yep. Last shout out for the Dolphins before we move on. Kurt Donahue. That nose. Wow. I was wincing at home. It wasn't even my face. It imprinted into his face. Like, that's ridiculous. And then all that we're getting told, mixed reports, watching, going, okay, he's done for the game. And you think, yep, I completely understand that. They're trying to find his nose inside his bloody brain somewhere. And then next minute, he's running on. We're thinking, what has happened here? He had the nose job from a Hollywood studio. The commentators are saying he looked like Brad Pitt all of a sudden. I was amazed at the work that they did. And he was killing. He was fantastic, to be fair, again, as well on the weekend. And that toughness, like, personified, really, like, that injury was sickening.
God, I love players like this in the game. I love players like this in the game. These types of players, Kurt Donahue has done a service to rugby league on the weekend. And I think that these types of players are the backbone of what rugby league has come from, right? And that show that the game isn't going completely soft like everyone says, right? So, like, there are times where you sit there and you go, yes, it is for sure. But there are times when, like, for example, Cam McInnes comes in, he's got 3 teeth left and he's friggin', had his face knocked in, and he's just like, yeah, no, I'm right. Gives a big toothy grin. Kurt Donahue has his nose halfway through his face. He's just like, yeah, no, it's just another Saturday for me. I don't know, what was it? Friday, Thursday. It was just another Thursday for me. Like, who even cares? I'm thinking back to like Sam Burgess when he, I can't actually remember what he did. I remember there was a big injury he played through. It's like a fractured jaw or something like that.
Fractured cheekbone in the grand final.
Cheekbone,
come on, mate.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Then you have like even your Cooper Cronk playing through a broken arm. Like I love those types of stories that like what I don't care about for now. Just in this moment I don't care about my body. It's what my team needs, and they need me out there, so I'm going to be out there, and I love that idea. So good on you. Credit to you, Kurt.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Over to the Bulldogs side, not really much to shout out to in terms of personnel. They got absolutely pumped. What I want to more so talk about with the Bulldogs is this a bit of a concern? Because to be fair, we actually spoke about this last week in terms of giving teams starts and getting into that pattern was a very dangerous pattern to get into. And it's now backfired because it happened again this weekend and they weren't able to chase it down. If anything, they actually just continued to lose ground on their opposition as the game went on. So, and that was something that has happened. It has crept into their game now for almost a month of football. It was a very, very dangerous game to play. It's dramatically backfired. It's also made people start to think how important and key Crichton is to this team, because that's who was taken away. Like, I know they were missing a number of players, but he, for mine, personifies this and the mind frame and stuff like that, what we're seeing from the Bulldogs so far. He was out of the game. And basically, we've seen what we did see from the Bulldogs. That spark just simply wasn't missing. And the rest of their spine was there. Like, they had Connor Tracy, they had Matty Burton, they had Sexton, they had Reed Marnie, but none of them really quite. So I think Matty Burton had a decent game considering, but there's just that spark was missing that I feel like goes down to Crichton, and that's his captaincy, and that's a huge credit to him. But for the Dogs' sake, it is very concerning, in my opinion, to then be that sort of team where they very much highly rely on that one key player to get him going and to be that. Because let's say, hypothetically speaking, and we never wish this upon a player, but through this Origin campaign, which is very tough on players, something happens to Critter, and he's not able to play a chunk of the remaining games in the run home for the Bulldogs. You all of a sudden start thinking, well, how many games will actually win in the lead up to those final? Like, where will it actually put them? Will they stay in the top 4? Will they stay in the top 8 even? Like, the Dolphins didn't play over the top fantastic football on the weekend, yet put 44 points on them. And I know Serrato was very disappointed with their defensive attitude and the way that the Dogs, and he made no excuses at all, and I love that. And they'll get the kick up the arse they need. Where do you see the Dogs' performance here, Jay? Because I don't know if I'm reading quite too much into it, but I don't think it looked good for them at all.
No, and it didn't look good. But there's something I need to say that I think a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, all champion teams need to be able to win in all conditions, right? But the 2 games where they've gotten pumped this year, right, and they've won every other one, the 2 games where they've lost at all and looked really, really bad have been in very, very bad conditions weather-wise. I know that shouldn't matter too much, but clearly something in them it does.
And Brisbane teams.
Yeah, against Brisbane teams, which is worse because it doesn't really make much sense. But for some reason, it's happening. They've looked really bad when it's been torrential downpours and really bad rain conditions. At the same time, I think the biggest thing was in the fact that it was wet was they tried to play a little bit too sideways, and then which is their normal play style and the way they've been playing because they're a bit more mobile, right? So the play style is being found out. Sorry, the team makeup is being found out a little bit in the sense that we all judge the Bulldogs on. We've all said it like they're too small. Last year we were like, oh, they're too small, all this, and they succeed in those games because they have that mobility. When the bigger forwards sort of start to slow down a little bit, that's where they're sort of showing that success, right? But that isn't going to help you in the wet. In the wet, if you have those bigger players who are performing, like you just said, even Francis Molo, for example, right? Like if you have those bigger players who are performing, they're going to lay just the difference is going to be night and day in the difference that they can make for a team in those conditions. And that's the biggest thing that I'm going to say. They did have forwards out. Their forwards that they did have didn't step up at all. Like if I'm looking at the stats on this, I'm looking at a very similar sort of performance forward wise as what the Eels were producing at the start of the year, right? And that's bad. That's you don't want to be looking like the start of 2025 Eels. That's where I'm seeing like you've got where is he? Bailey Hayward was playing lock for him. Across 53 minutes, he ran 4 times for 23 meters. That is not good enough. You cannot be doing that as a forward, right? Understand he's been playing in the halves recently, but it doesn't matter. It's not good enough. You've got Curran ran 13 times for 101, which is okay. Harry Hayes also ran 13 for 105, which again is okay. Lipoi Hopoi, 9 runs for 67 meters. Like that, you're a prop, mate. That's not good enough. And that's where I'm sitting at. So I need more data for this, for me to have an answer for you. I know I sound like Trav, don't I? I need to see more wet weather football from them first, and more football with a full strength side against a strong side, because I see them staying in first. I think the 2 losses they've had have been in outlier, like they've been like outlier games. They've not been in regular conditions, typical football conditions. So I want to give them more time. I think they stay first for a little while.
The concern for them is that we're getting into the cold winter months, which means dewy fields, the slippery conditions, and that's what you've just said. Both losses, yes, granted wet, but slippery as well is the main thing there. That's sort of, I feel like that's where the common denominator is there, and they need to get better at handling those conditions. I'm not with you in terms of, I'm just sort of giving them that pass mark again and just going, yeah, I reckon they'll stay. I do think they've got a bit to work on, especially starting this week, because to be that genuine first place team and the best team in the competition, let's say, conceding 44 to a Dolphins outfit isn't it like that. And in those conditions, and having those players come into the team where, granted, I know it wasn't the flashiest looking team, but they had their spine in place, where give most teams out there and just say to them, you know what, you'll lose 6 or 7 players, but if you tell them they'll have their spine intact no matter what, they'll take that every day of the week. Like let's take Parramatta, for instance. If you told them they'd have Iongi, Brown, Moses, and Smith there still, and have a few of their forwards not out, some of their backs, they'd take it every day of the week. Storm, Penrith, the like will do all the same. So they've really got to make sure they get that out of there. Don't use that as an excuse, which again I love Serraldo saying. And get back on the bandwagon. That is key for the Bulldogs moving forward. They need to come out. I think they've got a bye this week coming up, which is probably a good time for them just to regroup. But come out the week after that, which is against the Eels actually on Monday, and get the win there. Unfortunately, I have to say that. But yeah, that'd be a big thing for them to make sure they don't get into this little lull now and all of a sudden losing becomes that habit, which you don't want to get into. And they're sitting there patting themselves on the back for the start they've had as well. Because all of a sudden, in the next month or 2 of footy, you can all of a sudden be sitting there in 5th or 6th position going, well, the start meant nothing because now look at us. Yeah. And it's just not where you want to get to with the Dogs.
True. Very true. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah. Moving on, the next game, the Eels against the Manly Sea Eagles, 30 points to 10 at CommBank Stadium on the Friday night. Manly, mate, Manly. Hopewadi with the 2 tries. Turbo just didn't seem to be Turbo still. He's clearly still carrying. So they're trying to say it's just a cork. I call bullshit. I've got to say it, mate, because he was not moving anywhere like it's been a 3-week cork. Come on now. Like we're not here. We're not spiders. We're not just going to believe any of this stuff anymore. Like there's clearly stuff going on there. Now, I was very interested to see how this would unfold because this was the first DCE-less game since the announcement and stuff like that as well. I thought, if anything, this might have brought the playing group together for the week. Playing for Turbo. Turbo was there, was huge. It was a glimpse into post-DCE era. And to be honest, Jake, it has left me extremely concerned. I know this is next year. I'm very concerned for them for next year. Then I remembered, they got Fogarty coming though, so it should be okay. But in saying that, just in terms of no DCE, he has been the heartbeat of that club for so long. I thought a lot of this had to do with the announcement that big lull they've had sort of since then, and it's really impacted things. I was so disappointed with this performance because I'm going to call it a spade. Para were there for the taking on the weekend in terms of on paper before the ball was kicked. Very clearly seen into the game very early on that the Eels were actually there for the game and wanted to take it on, which was great to see from a Para fan's point of view. But from Manly's point of view, they just didn't want to fight. They thought they could get there, win this game by 50 odd. They'd all have a try in them. And that for mine as a man, if you're a Manly fan out there, you're extremely worried because their mind frame, it feels like, has switched totally. They just think they're this world-beating team. They can turn up on there any given day, beat a team by 30, 40 points with ease, and you're not going to do anything in this competition with that mind frame.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I don't know if I agree with the mindset thing. It's a very difficult one. I think when you verse a team... Sorry?
Have a go then.
Have a go at what?
At what I said, have a go.
I don't even know what you're on about, mate. I find this is interesting because I find when you're versing a team lower than you on the ladder, it's hard not to go into that thinking, like, especially because the fact that they versed us earlier in the year, right? So they versed the Eels earlier in the year, and they won that so comfortably. Like, we never in that game at any point looked even mildly concerning to them. So I think, especially when there's such a short turnaround between games when you're versing the same team and you've just done that to a team, you're not going into it expecting that much of a difference. But when you see the growth that the Eels have had over this sort of issue, what you're talking about there. So I think I'm really struggling to find the words. I mean, they've got Fogarty coming in next year, so he's very similar in a sense to DC. He's got a good, strong kicking game. He's very composed. Like, they'll need that for sure. Jacob Arthur, in my opinion, isn't even a depth signing. I don't rate him as a halfback in the NRL. I don't. I really don't. I think he could potentially. I agree. He could potentially bulk up. He could bulk up to play lock, maybe at a stretch. He's just so thin. He's so difficult. He'd have to really, really bulk up if he was going to do that. Or if not, he shouldn't keep at this because I don't know. I hate saying that because, like, I just don't think he's got this in him. The biggest talking point for me out of that team, to be honest with you, is Luke Brooks. It felt like he wasn't there in that game. I don't remember seeing him do anything, to be completely honest with you. And the other person, I suppose, was we all, you know what, everyone said it. I heard this a lot in the lead up to this game, was Ola Kawatu's been in Blues camp. He's going to be buzzing. He's going to be up for this. What did he do? Ola Kawatu, if that Ola Kawatu came and played for the Blues, I would have been pissed on Wednesday night. You know what? He single-handedly made me happy that they chose Hudson Young over him. And I don't even care how Hudson Young goes, because if Ola Kawatu was going to play like that on Wednesday, that would have really, really annoyed me and disappointed me. So as a Manly fan, I can only imagine how disappointed they'd have to be in Ola coming in and doing that for him. So it's more a case this week, in my opinion, of their big stars not standing up. Like, I thought Matt Lodge came out and did a job for him. I actually thought Matt Lodge was one of their better players in the game, and I don't rate Matt Lodge at all. I thought he came out and did a pretty good job for him. There's their biggest stars that just kind of were quiet.
I think he did a great job of being a grub. About it.
Obviously. Don't get me started on Jester Vanga. He's a grub. Anyway, continue.
I agree with what you're saying, though. I think it's very concerning. A number of players that didn't step up. I think that mind frame is a concern because in the Fed income department, I know it's very cheesy, but you always got to respect your opposition no matter what. And they had their full strength backline at play in terms of the 1 to 5. And they just went in there. The forwards didn't want to do the job, didn't want to work. It was just a disappointing performance all around, I think. And I had them at the start of the year as a contender, top 4 certainty. I had them for. At the moment, I don't think they'll play finals football. I've really been off what they've been producing since the DCE announcement. I just don't see it working moving forward. And the other thing to point out to this, and I'm surprised not much has been said about this at all, I still don't rate Seibold one bit as a coach. Never have, never will. And I'm so shocked that he has not been spoken about so far. And I think it's almost criminal to not be producing with the lineup and the talent at his display with or without their captain. Like it's just, I just think it was very, very poor. The Eagles'
Quick
point
shout
of
out
view,
if you
though.
don't mind.
Sorry.
I was going to say, quick shout out if you don't mind for Lehi Hopawate.
Yes.
Huge game. Huge game. And I just noticed, and if you're looking at stats only, I thought Tom Trbojevic had a very quiet game, but to be fair, he did run 24 times for 225 meters, which is surprising to me. So he at least was doing the yardage work. I know it's not enough for winning a game, but he was doing yardage work, is all I'm saying.
I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say, though, is I feel like a lot of that was just the sake of him having a run for a run, and like it didn't challenge the line for Parramatta. It didn't look threatening. It was literally like and I felt like there was about 10 of these where he just took it and just went, oh, I'll take 4 or 5 meters up, get tackled, do my job type thing, and that was it. And that's just not the turbo that I think any rugby league fan really wants to see. They want to see. I don't know, it was against my team, so low on the weekend, I didn't want to see it, so I was happy with how he played. But from a rugby league point of view and talking out loud, doing a podcast, is the fact that you want to see him not doing that. He shouldn't be doing the work and doing all that sort of thing. He should be there looking threatening with every touch. That's the sort of player he is. We talk about it with Latrell all the time. He doesn't do that stuff. He's the X factor, the spark for the Bunnies. And you know, every time he gets the ball, something is going to happen, and it's going to be done with purpose. Where I just can probably say and argue the case that I think a lot of what Turbo did on the weekend wasn't done with purpose, unfortunately. And it just probably is where his body's at.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. To be honest with you, that's a fair point. He was doing a bit of yardage work, but it's not enough when your team needs some spark.
Couldn't have said it better myself, just more so you agreeing. For the Eagles' point of view, fantastic win. Got to be honest about this. Got to put my blue and gold glasses on for 1 second. I did not tip us. I actually didn't give us a chance in hell of winning this game. And then within about 10 minutes or so of this game, even maybe 8 minutes, like I very quickly thought to myself, you know what? We're going to win this game. Like we're in a very good spot at the moment. Defense was great. I think we really restricted players like Turbo, Hamole very well. Losing Penasini very early, HIA, I thought was going to really hurt us. But Joash Papali came on, provided that energy, that X factor as well. Shout out to Sam Rani, who did a great job as well. Players like that really stepped up. A lot of our young players stepped up. I thought Dylan Walker again provided so much good impact off the bench when he came on, made a huge difference and almost straight away once again, which we continue to say about him. But overall, like it was just one of those games where, and it felt good considering the players we didn't have, our two main guys, really, and taking effect Bailey Simonson as well, who would be a first choice in the back line every day of the week when fit. We just went in there and we wanted to work, which is something that I haven't seen from a Parasite for a while. They actually wanted to go there and do the hard stuff before getting the advantages of the tries and the fancy stuff, which is awesome to see. And it just shows you the roles era is taking off. It is in full effect. And we are starting to see a lot of what he's instilling into this team and this club start to show its face, start to show its character.
Yeah. I'll put a quick shout out for Junior Paulo's 250th. He had a monster of a game with 20 runs for 207 meters, and it felt like his, as opposed to Turbo's that we were just talking about, his runs were purposeful every time. He was throwing these little dummies potentially, and he'd try to run at spaces, not faces, try and make some extra meters in his post contacts. Looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. My favorite thing I've been seeing so far, the biggest change I've loved, and I mean that I have loved, and I actually begged for it before it happened. So now that it's working, I'm feeling a little bit justified about it, is I'm loving seeing Luca Moretti start to take the sting out of their forwards right at the end, get a little pat on the back. Luca Moretti starting in the prop role, Jack Williams shifting out to the edge at the start of games. I don't know why they're not being named that way. Who knows? Who cares? It's working. Let's let it work. Luca Moretti, that sting out of the game, because he doesn't tend to play more than 40 minutes in a game, but he'll take that sting out early, which I love. He comes in and he runs hard and he does his work early, does his job, and then goes off for a little while, and usually we have another prop shift in kind of thing into that forward role there. So that's looking really good. Other than that, you know what? I just want to see just the same thing every week from Isaiah Iongi. What a freak. I'm so excited to see this kid, man. I say it every week because I can't get over him. So excited to see him continue.
Yeah, he was sensational. I agree. And he's built, and I said it on the weekend to put a post out about him. I actually genuinely feel like every week so far he has improved and he's gotten better as a player, probably more comfortable, knows where he stands in this team now, knows the fact that they actually rely on him and they really do value what he can bring to the team. And I think he's really built into that. He hasn't got a big head. He hasn't gotten above himself. He seems to be just continually working his ass off as well, which I love. And is what something para fans are used to now, is they're used to having that, because obviously we've had Gutho for so many years. And every week you could never question his passion and pride for the jersey, his effort upon effort. And we've got the same now in a younger version in Iongi. So I absolutely love it. Absolutely love what I'm seeing from him and very keen to see what and still I'm not going to get over the top for para fans or anything like that, or as a para fan. I know that, and I said this today again for a couple of comments, the poor displays still outweigh the good displays so far. And we're still a work in progress. I get that. But all I will say, and I think everyone can agree in, is we've looked a lot better of a football team and actually the first grade football team now. At the moment, we're putting in, I think we've had a really good stretch of a month of football. I think we were very unlucky to not win against both the Sharks and the Dolphins. And there could be a very real possibility right now of talking after 4 wins on the trot, which would be awesome and would have helped. It would be in the top 8, which would be insane in itself. But credit to the Eels. I think they're playing a really decent sort of football. And again, they're 2 points outside the 8, which is crazy in itself. So keep it going.
Obviously, we have had a bye early. So obviously that does have to come into effect when you think about it. There's that bye that we've already had and some teams haven't and whatever. But at the same point, you know what takes that away and what makes that not be important is winning games. We keep winning games, you go from there. Last quick one, I just noticed that neither of us said it. Dean Hawkins, 4 try assists, huge game. Great job stepping up for us.
Footy Dean doing what he does best.
Footy Dean.
With the football in hand. Footy Dean. To be fair, mate, I know you mentioned the bye thing, but everyone so far has had at least one apart from the Dolphins. So we're starting to sit pretty okay with the bye. Even like the Titans, for instance, we are above the Titans who have had now 2 byes. So we're actually sitting better than a few of those teams, Penrith included, who are stone motherless last. And talking about Penrith, that's a perfect segue because they just got done and smashed by the Newcastle Knights, 25 points to 6 at Bathurst. Great country town. Great to see them once again getting around that community and them getting around the game itself. It was packed. I'll officially declare it, though, and I've done it before, and I'll do it again. Penrith are done. They will not be playing final football, in my opinion, this year. It's too far gone. 4 wins, 6 losses so far. Oh, sorry, that was the Dragons stats. 3 wins, 1 draw, and 7 losses. 1 bye already. They're only on 9 points. Minus 21 is respectable from where they are. That does hold them quite nicely, but just that footy. Any other year in the last 4 or 5 years, I know it's hard to judge them off that and compare. We'd see their reserve grade boys come in and do a job and basically get the win, and you go, this is just Penrith. This is what they do, and this is why I tip Penrith on the weekend, because this is what they do. But I've just now seen, and it was just the confirmation I think a lot of us probably needed on the weekend, that this isn't the Penrith that we are used to. Pay respect to what they've achieved. Absolutely love what they achieved. No one probably ever will achieve it again in the NRL era, to be fair. But the time is over. I'll declare it, Jake.
I will declare it after this weekend's match. So, because look, the way I see it, well, you've just said it, right? So you've just said we're on 10 points. That's 1 point more than them. You've just said we can make the 8, right? So if you're going to go and say that you can make the 8,
I don't think we can, but technically speaking, we can.
All I'm saying is that's what you said. You said like technically we're that far away from the 8 and whatever. Okay, I get that, right? I understand what you're saying. They're 1 point less than us. This game, I reckon, basically will be either of these two teams' last ditch crack. If they lose the match, I reckon then they're sitting out of that sort of. They're not going to make it kind of zone. So obviously, I hope that's the Eels. I hope we win. But in terms of declaring the Penrith Panthers as being done, I need this week, and I will then give you my call. I've not yet declared it. I have not yet said Panthers are done and dusted for the year, and I won't do it yet. Give them one more week, or if Nathan Cleary gets injured, then they're done. That's your two deciding factors.
Well, we will see. We will definitely see. But yeah, look, very poor display by Penrith. For the Knights, though, I'm not going to read too much. Like, I'm going to shout out to a couple of the players, but first of all, we've seen this. Players. Yeah, two players, but we've seen this before a few weeks ago when they versed the South Sydney Rabbitohs, who were depleted. They looked like the Harlem Globetrotters. They put on a show, but that seems to be now, from what I've seen so far of this season, the only sort of game that the Knights can play when they're versing teams that are either completely off or missing half their team. They then decide to turn up and play. And funnily enough, it was without Kalen Ponga. Read into that what you will. If maybe they just thought they needed to finally step up some of these other players, and they did do that. You said two players. Look, obviously we're going to talk about Dylan Lucas.
Three.
A fantastic game. Fletcher Sharp, he was showing why fullback for mine is his spot. And we've got two teams coming into the competition over the next few years. I'd be shocked if they don't make a play to get him guaranteed fullback positions moving forward, or another team for that as well, because I think he is a genuine fullback. That is his main position. The other one, he actually got to play in his normal position and his preferred position, I felt like, this week. Tyson Gamble, we'll give him a shout out because I've been a very strong critic of him, especially when he plays halfback, which, to be fair, I directed more at Adam O'Brien for picking that. I feel like he actually a really good game at 5'8", and didn't overplay it, just was giving the ball, doing his thing, but doing what he does best, and just well done to him for that as well.
To be completely fair, right? First of all, yes, I've been a massive critic, and yes, this week he had a good game. My nan could have played that game and been passing to Dylan Lucas against an edge of Schneider and Tungo, and just going through Schneider like he was friggin' a hot knife through butter. Like, my nan could have passed that ball, is all I'm saying. He did the same thing 3 times, and it worked 3 times. So don't be wrong. Tyson Gamble had a really good game because he's got 3 tries to his name, right? Fair. Do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again, and then prove that that's not just a fluke and a one-off. You haven't proved anything. You had one good game. Do better. Yeah. Like, continue to do that for your team, and then we can start to talk about, hey, maybe we were all wrong about Tyson Gamble. At the moment, good job, played well, done good. Yeah. Do better again.
Yeah. Not trying to dismiss this win at all. Like, obviously, whenever you beat a team 25 points to 6, it is a good win. But I just think overall what we're trying to say here, and I think you're trying to say the same thing, is we're not going to read too much into the win because we've seen it a few weeks ago. We want it actually to happen against a team that is full strength as well. And you get into that grind and you get the win, because we've seen so far you can't simply handle that as a team, as a club. So for us at the moment, we'll watch and we'll look and see what happens over the coming weeks, I think.
They have Dragons and then Manly, which is going to be interesting because Dragons should be mostly full strength, and Manly at that week should have everyone, I believe. Or maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I think. I'm not sure. We'll have to double check that on the run. But
that's
next, moving on, the Roosters smashing the Sharkies 42 points to 16. Jakey boy, alarm bells ringing for the Sharkies. Let's not kid ourselves. They basically went into this with a full strength lineup and without Stone Street. I know that, but let's comparing apples to apples. You'd rather have the Sharks ins and outs than the Roosters had ins and outs. That's for sure. And the display that they put on was horrendous. And for mine, and this feels like I'm being quite harsh in this podcast so far, but I feel like I'm being fair. This for mine is the reason why. this for me is the reason why they are not premiership contenders. They've got this in them too often, and this should have been a game, no word of a lie. They should have put the reverse score on. They should have beat the Roosters 42 points to 16. They didn't do it. Their key players once again went missing. Kennedy, for mine, had a very average game. This is why I've always said from the get-go in season previews of the like this year and into the shows, and I put some posts out as well, to be a genuine contender, they won't win a comp while Will Kennedy's their fullback. Sorry to say, I don't think they'll do it. Nico Hines and Trindle went back to felt like fighting on the field in a way in terms of who's the boss and who's doing what, which I don't get because we've been boisterous the last few weeks that Nico Hines being the main guy now has worked for them and worked really well. And it just felt like for some reason Trindle all of a sudden came into this weekend and went, you know what, back to being my team. Give me the ball. Let me do everything. And to be honest, he failed. He failed miserably at it. And it felt like Nico went back to being Mr. Nice Guy in a way and went, you know what, I'll let him do what he's doing. Mate, no, need you to step up here. Like, this is a game where we needed Nico Hines to be the Nico Hines of the last few weeks. What are you thinking, Jake? Because I feel like I might be being a bit too harsh. I don't know.
No, you know what? If you asked me earlier if the Bulldogs was alarm bells ringing, and I said no. If there's a game where there's alarm bells ringing in my head, it's this game. This one's got me sitting here going, like, not this game, but this game, sorry. The Sharks are in trouble. You can't look. What they should have rolled them through the middle, and I understand their 1-7 was pretty much unchanged, right? The Roosters 1-7 was basically unchanged, but then you've got Makahesi Makatoa as starting prop. He did almost nothing, to be honest with you. He was only on for 19 minutes, so to be fair. Then you've got Celesi Faketa. I've never even heard of him. Egan Butcher, obviously. Sua Wong, Victor Radley, fine. Then you got your bench. Benaya Loelu, I don't even know who that is. Taylor Losalu, I don't know who that is. And I don't know who Ethan King is, although he didn't play. Xavier Va'a played. So you've got a bunch of absolute, like, just no-name reserve grade players playing in the forwards. And, you know, you got some of the best, like, you've got Adam Fanua-Blake, Britton Nakora, Cameron McInnes, Talakai. Like, you're sitting there looking at this roster and just going like, wow, how did you not absolutely steamroll them down the middle? How did you not just absolutely just make meters after meters after meters and then just shift it to your incredible edges that you have? Like, what is happening? And you're right. There has to be the disjoint between the halves because that's where the issue's coming from. I understand that. I looked at the errors. Both teams made a ridiculous amount of errors. Okay, but it was their 1-6 all made an error. There was across their team 1-6 all made an error, and that's just it's not good enough, especially from your back to the ones who are supposed to be able to have those carries, hold that ball kind of thing. Shouldn't be every single one. You know, your forwards are meant to be the ones that if you're going to see mistakes in your team, it should be coming from sort of them because they're the ones who are doing the big charges and things like that. But I don't know where the answer is because I don't agree with you on Will Kennedy. That's the thing, right? So I don't know where the answer is for the Sharks. I don't agree with you on the Will Kennedy call at all. I think that this comes down to the halves, and I think it comes down to the disjoint between those two. But the answer isn't swapping one of them to fullback because Will Kennedy, he makes the meters. He actually does well. He does pretty good sweeps, and he actually is a relatively good. He didn't defend that well tonight. Oh, sorry, on the night. But I don't agree with you on that call. They need to fix their halves problem. I think one of the two needs to go. To be honest with you, I think they can't keep them both because it's not working. And if they want to have this, they're in this premiership window now. It isn't working. One of them needs to get shifted on, and they need to sort something else out because it isn't working.
Well, they had the choice at the end of last year, basically, to choose Atkinson or Trindle, and they've gone Trindle, which looking back and with hindsight, I feel like was the wrong decision because Atkinson, in my opinion, would suit Hines' game a lot more. He's happy to do the back seat. He's happy to be the support play, help with that side of things. And that would allow Nico to now play what he's playing. He's halfback. He's the organizer. He's the chief guy. It would allow that to happen where you've got two guys that are fighting to be the guy, the chief, and it's not working. Like I said, like last week and the week before, it did work for the Sharkies and Nico was it. So I don't know why they keep going back to sort of this. And you're right about the forward pack. That forward pack should be embarrassed about their display on the weekend and getting outplayed by respectfully some reserve graders there that some rugby league people out there haven't even heard of before. I know a lot of them are doing great things and great young talents coming through. The Roosters have great raps on them coming through as well. But yeah, it's hugely concerning for the Cronulla Sharks moving forward. In saying that, though, sorry, I feel like you're about to say something before I move over.
I was just gonna say I did have a crack at Fanua Blake, and to be completely fair, he did have 16 runs for 180 meters. He actually did play really well. So I felt like that was unfair. The rest of the forward pack should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of it's to do with the bench and things like that. Just no impact whatsoever. One final thing I actually mentioned on this: Ronaldo Mulatalo, you need to pull your head in. Like seriously, like you've gone over grub level now, and it's very much grub zone, and not good grub zone either. You've gone into Reed Marnie levels, I feel like, and you've lost the plot. And that was at a horrible stage for the Sharks as well, because they started poorly. They just started to get onto the front foot in a way and get a bit of momentum. And he then did what he did, went high, was stupid, lost his cool. Roosters, Mark Nwanga Wikatazi got in his head basically, and they lost the plot, and Roosters went back onto the front foot, and the rest was history. So, Mulatalo, you really need to start pulling your head in and work out what you want to be as a player, because you're a very good winger, but you're going to become an easy target, I think, moving forward, because a lot of teams out there are very smart when it comes to that sort of thing. The Roosters side of things, led by their captain, inspirational Teddy, who was everywhere once again on the weekend. The work he gets through is just ridiculous. Like, I can't believe it. Shout out to all those players we mentioned before. How good has seen his debut? First touch, took a strong hit up. The next touch was a try, and I think he got it within a minute of being on the field. His whole family support crew erupted. Love to see it. Great impact by all those off the bench as well. Very, very encouraging. Mark Nwanga Wingatasi's try towards the end, where he actually stood up, one of the best defensive centers in the game have got in Iro, where he sort of looked like he was just faking to, I'll take the sort of the hit, and then just that little shimmy shake, move of the feet. Absolutely love that. Champagne Rugby League. And where's he going to get to in the game, Jake? Like, fair income. He's been now, he's played at 12, 13 games of first grade rugby league now, because I think he played 1, maybe 2 last year. Very much still fresh, maybe very new. I think he's considered an NRL rookie this year as well, crazy enough. I honestly think, and I'll say this now, I think he'll be in the frame and contention for a blue spot next year. This time next year, we'll be talking about him.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I mean, it's going to come, if you're talking about, you say in the frame for, obviously you're not going to say like picked for, but like that'll come down to who's available and things like that. But in terms of being talked about for it, you could, if Robert Toy is being talked about, or is made the Origin side, there is genuinely no reason why Nwanga Wingatase. Sorry, I had to look.
Game 2.
No, I'm not. Mate, I'm not saying to get him in. I'm just saying the way he's playing and with the confidence he's playing, and honestly, just the skill level and the freakishness that he's got. I see no reason why he couldn't be in the conversation. You're absolutely right about that. I know he played in the centers this week, and he's been playing on the wing. I think so far we've shown his best position is on the wing. He can easily play center though. Yeah. Gun center either way. Like, he can play both, which is great. So good to have that versatility. He wants to be known as one of the better wings in the game. He's gonna need to get better under a high ball. That's probably the only thing I'm sitting there going, he needs to improve on there. But God, how isn't he good? Like, mate. I don't even know how you can even say he's only going to get better, because how can he? I don't know how he can get better than how he's doing. Like, the guy's a freak.
He's natural.
He's just a natural man, and the good thing is the size of his body, the way he's built. He makes really good meterage on his runs. He's fearless. He's playing with confidence. It's just good. Yeah, I don't know. He could be talked about for it. Like, if you look at that and you see, like, because was he right or left? Hold on, I can't remember.
He was on the right.
He was on the right. So right's Critter. Critter gets an injury or something like that. I don't know who our next level right center is anyway. I see no reason why you couldn't talk about him.
Look out. Look out. One other shout out I just want to talk about Dom Young. I actually thought he had a very, very solid game, especially defensively, which is the reason why he was dropped. I just want to mention this, that I was watching quite closely on the weekend. I know, granted, the Sharks didn't throw too much at him. They were off on the night. But I think he hit himself in the reads in defense was very good. So he's obviously gone back, and credit to him. Obviously, there was all these rumors about he was basically at the Knights, packed his bags, he was going. But then to turn up the way he has, I think it's fantastic. So really well done to Dom Young, who I thought, a very professional game, and just showed the sort of quality of player he is and can be.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that he's come out. We all know he can attack. I looked at he missed 2 tackles. He made 5, so there's a total of 7 potential tackles there. So it's not as if they didn't, like you said, they didn't throw that much at him, but in the opportunities he had, he was succeeding with them. And I think that one of the big things that a lot of people were disappointed with him at, it feels like at the Roosters, was his meterage. He wasn't making many meters on his return runs from kicks. If you're actually looking at my favorite stat, which is meterage, he actually ran 19 times for 163 meters. He had the most runs in the back line. So he came out with a point to prove, it felt like, and he gave it a red hot crack. And that also is, other than Teddy, because he's a freak, other than Teddy, that is the most meters made in the back line. So if Dom keeps putting up those types of performances, who knows? Maybe he finds himself back in that wing spot. Who knows what happens from here? But he's trying to earn that, and I think that's a good thing for him to do. He's a professional, right? He wants to be the best. So you're not going to be going into any game going, "Oh, this sucks. I'm going to mope around." Like, got to get him in there. I hope he keeps performing like this. I quite like him. I think he's a freak, and I actually think I remember watching him for England, and he's done it a few times for the Roosters, where he'll just chase someone down from massive distances. He's just so fast. I think if he gets these other little elements to his game right, he will be one of, if not the best wingers in the game.
Yeah, no, not a bad shout at all. One final one, just on Victor Radley, obviously a milestone game on the weekend for him. Thought he was one of the Roosters' best and one of the best players on the park. Continued to make a number of the right decisions. Shout out for his poor decision with the flick pass. Obviously got inspiration from a set or two before that when Teddy pulled one off. He thought he could try on with a simple draw and pass, and Tedesco would have been in under the post. I don't know what he was thinking. Overconfident in the way he laughed about it post game and said he'll never try that again. I hope he's probably a man of his word, because that just looked awkward as. And don't overthink it. Just pop a pass in under the post. But again, you had a fantastic game. I think he's actually had a very underrated year so far. I think he's been very good for the Roosters. Obviously, he's had his troubles in the past, whether it's judiciary-wise or getting his body right. Obviously, the concussions as well. When he's been on the field this year, I think he's been a very big point of difference for the Roosters, and starting to remind everyone just of how good of a lock he is and can be. I think a lot of people out there have forgotten over the couple of years, because it's just, as I said, it has been in and out a lot. He is a top quality player, a top quality lock, and good to see him getting back to that form.
Yeah, I like Victor, and I hope he does succeed. Obviously, he has had a lot of head knocks. Like, he's had so many head knocks in his career. It keeps him off the field a lot. And obviously, with head knocks, it doesn't, just because you get one, it doesn't mean that you just have that 11-day stand down. He's had times where he's had like huge ramifications over weeks and weeks and stuff like that. And then obviously, yeah, like you said, he gets sent to the judiciary every second week. I believe he's the second most. He's missed the second most amount of time behind Latrell Mitchell in the judiciary or something along those lines, which I think is incredible. But when he gets it right, when he plays his best game, and then when he's playing lock and plays his best game, he will be the difference maker for sides. And there was a time there where him and Cameron Murray were being compared so closely with like the difference between what they provide. I've always had Cameron Murray over him. But God, when he gets it right, it's a very different, like, it's so hard to compare because it's so similar.
Yeah, no, I agree. Last game of the round was the Warriors against the Raiders. The Raiders getting the chocolates in this one, 16 points to 10. We talk about a great game. Obviously, we're very much looking forward to this, because second against third, it did switch over at the end of this with the result. Canberra Raiders are now second. Credit to them, doing great things in the competition. But obviously, this one wasn't highly affected with Origin, just a player for each team being out. I think Fisher Harris was a huge out for the Warriors. Tarpany was very big. He was trying to lead from the front. Yep, probably had a few grub moments in there. Probably some that the Warriors fans didn't like too much going off the crowd reaction. To be fair, I think he put a lot of people offside with the amount of questioning to the ref he did as well. I think that got over the top a little bit in that game. I haven't noticed that before with him either. So I don't know if that was just something different or if heat of the moment.
No, I have.
Him being a Kiwi as well might have been a bit more emotion behind that game for him personally also. But yeah, I did notice that sort of part of his game, which I didn't really like, to be honest. But he played tough, helped his team get the 2 points. We talk about kicking game and how crucial it is. I just want a special mention to Fogarty. I thought he was sensational again. Obviously, he did score the try, but his basically navigation around the football field, once again, in those conditions, was wet, slippery, away from home. He was just sensational. Again, it's just, I can't stop saying that. I just think he's up there in the top 5 or so players of the game at the moment. Like in terms of form, he's right up there.
Oh, if you're looking at form, 100%. I mean, he took 17 kicks across the day, kicked for 438 meters, which is your baseline stuff for a halfback, but 2 forced dropouts. I mean, not that dropouts are as important as they used to be, but 2 forced dropouts are still, it's very successful as a half. 7 bombs, which you love to see Fogarty putting up those kinds of numbers when it comes to bombs. Just the amount of, you just love to see the bombs. And then 4 crossfield kicks, so obviously aiming for his wingers there, kind of doing that type of thing. Like he was having a very mixed game with the boot. I don't mean mixed in the mixed success. I mean mixed as in he was going into his kit and he was doing sort of different types. He wasn't just being very boring and repetitive, which I think is always good for him, kind of thing. So form-wise, I could easily say he's the top 5 half in the competition. To be honest, I could almost say he's top 3.
I absolutely agree. For the Warriors, I wouldn't read too much into this one. I wouldn't get too down about it. I think it was a great game, as I said. A few little things. Obviously, missing your 2 starting props was always going to hurt, especially the style of play you have been playing so far this year. I think there'll be people out there that go, oh, it's a top quality team. The Warriors have had a decent run so far this year. That could be a worry. I just think they were in the arm wrestle, which is what I liked. We said that about a couple of teams so far this week, about just making sure they're in that arm wrestle going back and forth. I think the Warriors did that quite well. Aaron Clark, once again, I thought was very good. I thought Aaron Clark showed that this lock jersey is his. He's loved having the extra minutes as well, with Dylan Walker obviously leaving that club mid-season. I didn't know if it would have a great impact on the Warriors. I thought Dylan Walker was very, very good, but Aaron Clark has shown that the style of play that they're playing, he suits that perfectly. Shout out to Aaron Clark, in my opinion, Jake.
Yeah. No, Aaron Clark, like I've said, this actually happened. I think I shouted him out last week, but he's never been somebody who's ever really impressed me. I've always thought he's had too many mistakes in his game. I always thought that he didn't provide as much as he sort of wasted in terms of energy for a team. He has turned that around on me, and I'm eating my words this year. He's been so good that I brought him into my Supercoach side. So he... Oh, man, maybe, but I don't care. He's so good. I'm loving seeing Roger on the wing. If that's something, I'll just quickly shift across. I think he had a huge game, and he always does. But I think wing is better for him than center. Personally, I love the fact that he's out there. I mean, I'd rather him play fullback for them, as we've said, and I'll say it a million times. I think he's the best fullback out of the 3 fullbacks they have at that out of that team. But second best to that is wing. I think he's a perfect person to be playing on the wing. Does a really great job out there as well.
Yeah. One thing I'll just say for both teams, they just got to be careful with their discipline. Obviously, they were warned a number of times. They did lose. They both lost a player to the sin bin with poor discipline. That will bite them in the bigger games moving forward towards the end of the year. You don't want to be giving teams like the Storm. Trying to think off the top of my head some of these other teams. Everyone's having form up and down, but you don't want to give some of these teams, I guess the Sharkies, the Broncos, if they start to find something. Those sorts of teams, each other as well, if they get to verse each other again in finals, you don't want to give them the upper hand. And if you give them too many chances of actually attacking against a man short, they will hurt you. So just got to make sure that their discipline is a lot better than it was tonight.
100%. I do definitely agree with that. Raiders, I think, more so even than Warriors. I think Raiders are a team I've actually noticed have that in them. They do, and then they like to really blame the referees. And sometimes you just kind of go like, you know what? It can't always be the referees every week. At some point, you have to take a little bit of ownership for yourself. There's somebody I've just noticed his stats, and I really want to throw them out to you that I never actually hadn't noticed. And I don't know if you could guess this one. Do you want to have a crack at it? Who you reckon I'm about to mention?
For the Warriors or Raiders?
For the Warriors.
I'll probably lock in their fullback, CNK.
Jackson Forward had a monstrous
yes, I did see this.
Jackson Forward in 57 minutes, ran for 200 meters without a line break in the game. He ran 17 times for 200 meters, and not only that, I'm not done yet. He made the most tackles in their team with 43 tackles in 53 minutes. The guy was a machine through that game. Oh my goodness.
He's another one having one of those underrated years. I feel like he actually if you go back through his stats, I think it'll surprise you how many games he's had sort of similarish sort of numbers and the sort of impact he has had in terms of just he works his ass off. He's quite fit for a forward, and he's very underrated in terms of how he is. I think there's a stigma around his hands and stuff like that, I feel like, in the game. But to be honest, he just works his butt off. And the Warriors, I think the way they're playing, it suits them down to a T.
I always thought with Jackson Forward that he always has his best game when he starts. I've never liked him off the bench. I actually always liked him as a second rower too, more than I liked him as a prop. But this game, he's just come out, and I understand they didn't get the win. But you imagine him playing like that with Fisher Harris and Barnett there. I actually think they get the win, to be honest with you. I would have tipped Warriors if that was the case.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Lucky I didn't because I know football. But...
yeah, well, shout out to the Raiders. They actually helped me get off the donut for the week, and they allowed me to get one right out of 5 this weekend. A very, very tough week in rugby league. But anything else to add, mate?
No. Interesting round of footy.
Let's sign off. And thank you once again for watching, for listening. Hit that bell icon if you're listening on your Spotify's or Apple's, things like that. Rate us. Add a few comments in. YouTube the same. Share it around. Let your mates, let your family know about us. If you're interested in any of the merch I've got on, the hats, the shirts, we've got the polos, the Rocks in Your Head shirts as well. Please reach out to the page and then hit the socials. You'll see if you're watching down below where you can find us. Hit those up, type in League of Inches. You will find us there. Follow, add some comments, shares, likes even. It all goes a long way of helping us and really looking forward to what's to come. So thank you for watching, listening. We will be back for post-Origin. We will do a video. We'll come straight on live instead of doing a Tuesday live. That has changed. We'll come on, talk all things Origin because obviously it'll be heated. There'll be lots to talk about. As always, it's a huge show for us. Keen to rip into that one. So make sure you're there Wednesday night, post-Origin, YouTube, Facebook. We will see you then. Thank you, Jakey boy. Good night. Goodbye. See ya.